Hi, my name is Mrs. Day, and this is my math story. Math has never come easy for me. It was never my favorite subject in school. I struggle even today with challenging abstract math problems. I excel at math problems that require the use of traditional problem-solving methodologies, though. For me personally, math was mostly a necessary evil required for graduation and a prerequisite for getting into college. I wanted very badly to break my family norm and attend college. I viewed math as providing the equivalent of a hammer, screwdriver, wrench, or other tool for the job at hand. My first recollection of math brings me back to second grade. I remember seeing the multiplication chart and having to recite math facts with the class. I was never on pace with the rest of the kids. I remember counting money with my dad by candlelight during a hurricane. I was good at counting money. It made sense to me. In sixth grade, math changed which parent I lived with. In class, we were learning factor trees, and I was lost. My mother didn't know how to help me do my homework, and I was too shy to ask questions in class. I was in a new school, and I was failing math. When I brought home my first and last F on a report card, my dad insisted that I live with him. My dad did not accept failure in anything, least of all math. I lost faith in myself when I let my dad down. Math was now intimidating. And it was a force that not only had the power to change my life, but also the way that the people I love viewed me. I struggled through math up until 9th grade. High school algebra changed math for me. At that point, a light turned on. I no longer felt helpless in math. The crazy thing is, even though I made A's in high school math, I still never felt good at math. When given the option not to take math my senior year, I gladly took it. I only needed 3 years of math for college, right? In college, I panicked during the placement test for math. I turned my test almost completely blank. I wound up taking remedial math. Why? Mindset, pure and simple. I did not believe I could succeed in math. Math was still something I felt could alter my life, and it scared me. After my placement test debacle, I took the required math courses in college. I made good grades. Making good grades was just something that I did. It was proof to my family that I belonged in college. I never really thought about math beyond the grade that I would get. Math again became a tool to get me someplace. This time the job at hand was to get a career. The fact is, I never understood math until I started teaching math 10 years ago. Math is a force that changed and shaped my life, and it still does. The only difference is now, I appreciate how math fits into my world. I'm not the best mathematician. I may not even be the best math teacher in the world. But what I have to offer you, my students, is my passion for making math more accessible and less scary for you. I want you to know that I'm here to answer your questions. I have a drive to show you the beauty of math in our world and to convince you that it is indeed worth your time and effort to engage in your math education.
Math story. I come from a family of mathematicians. My father's an engineer, my grandfather's an engineer, my uncles and my cousins, they're all engineers. Math and I first became friends when I was a preschooler. At first, I loved math. I enjoyed how numbers could be manipulated and how they made everything make sense. Math to me was so organized and straightforward. There was no rough drafts, final drafts. Math was just math. However, in about 5th or 6th grade, math and I had a falling out. Suddenly, it stopped making sense. I made the same mistakes over and over. I was working harder, but I felt no change. I felt like I was paddling a boat hard and as fast as I could, and just wasn't moving. I decided to give up. I changed my dream of becoming a teacher to a chef, of course thinking this would involve with math. So my A's in math dropped to C's, sometimes even D's. Teachers started to disregard me as one of those students who will just never be able to understand math. When I got to high school, I thought things are just going to continue to be the same. However, my geometry teacher, Miss Cambridge, changed everything. She was funny and loud, and she just made you happy. She had this view that every student had amazing untapped potential. I'm still not the biggest fan of geometry, but this amazing teacher changed my idea about math. Don't get me wrong, I didn't all of a sudden develop an understanding about math, but she helped me light a new fire. I started working hard again, paying more attention, and through that determination, things just started to click. This woman gave me the courage to apply for Running Start. My last year of high school was spent at the local community college. I started working as a tutor at a local elementary school, and it wasn't until another teacher pointed out that I would be a great teacher that I even started considering my dream as a teacher. I realized at that point that because of the mistakes that I'd made, I knew how to look for them. I knew how to avoid the mistakes or understand the thought process behind some of those confusions. Today, my mathematic identity is to help students with not only the content, the nuts and the bolts of math, but the confidence to know you can do it. The biggest judgment will come from yourself. Albert Einstein was made fun of in school for the problems with his speech. Isaac Newton would get so mad at criticism that he'd lock himself in a room. If these mathematicians gave up or lost confidence in their abilities, where would they be today?
Hi, my name is Mr. Rupel, and this is my math story. I remember sitting in my mom's bed watching my brother go through flashcards with my mom. He would call out a number and my mom would smile and then flip the card. I couldn't read, so I wasn't sure what it said on the other side of the card, but it must have been right because my brother would smile and then my mom would change the card. I remember thinking to myself, how does he know what number to say? How does he know what's on the back of that card? I thought my brother had telepathic powers. One day I asked my mom if I could go through some flashcards. I wanted to see if I was telepathic too. She said we could look through them once I understood how they worked, and for the next few weeks I learned how to count by ones. Then she showed me how to put two numbers together and get a bigger number by doing something called adding. Then she showed me how to take away two numbers from each other and get a smaller number by doing something called subtracting. Flashcard by flashcard, I came to love math. When I got to elementary school, I felt like math was easy because I had already done so many problems with my mom at home. I liked it. I felt like I was the best. In third grade, Mr. Davis even gave me 2 plastic Viking helmets as prizes for being fastest with my Math Minute worksheets. Through middle school and through high school, I continued to feel this success. I was always proud of how right I was in the way I solved math problems. My teachers and parents and friends all told me that I was good at math because I was right so often. Then I went to college. My sophomore year, I took a math class and remember sitting in on the first day of class and feeling like my professor was speaking a different language. He had written all of these weird symbols on the board and was talking so fast I couldn't even make out most of what he was saying. I felt this way every day for the first half of the quarter, up until the first test. I did so poorly on this test. I remember calling my girlfriend at the time as I was walking home from it and just crying. For the first time in my life, I felt like I was stupid at math. What had happened to me? I used to be so good. Even though things got better for me by the end of the quarter, I still finished that class with one of the lowest grades I'd ever gotten in my life. My confidence as a mathematician was so shook from this experience, it took me years to recover. I didn't finally regain confidence until I began teaching math. One day in a conversation with a student, I realized that the frustration he was feeling was very much like the frustration I felt in my college class. Even though he felt like he was so far away from understanding math, I felt like he was a really strong mathematician. This points out what I learned about math in this moment. Math isn't about the number of right or wrong answers we get. It's about what we do with those answers. With this frame of mind, I realized I did my best math in the class I struggled in because I was learning so much through those answers I didn't quite get right. It is my burning desire to share this with you, my students. I will do everything within my power this year to show you how your value as mathematicians does not rely on the number of right or wrong answers you get, but what it is you can learn from these.